Funny enough, they're even louder, aren't they?
I'm joking, Anne, I'm joking.
Comfy chair. Tea comfy.
I'm totally oblivious today. Normally they go. See, I've lost my power. Time to reassert my power. There we go. Didn't want to interrupt you. You're all having a good fun. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Wonderful to see so many of you here again supporting this, your church, Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. Big warm welcome to all our friends joining us wherever you are in the world online today. Good morning. Great delight to welcome back to our platform the lovely Stephen Mayger. Stephen, welcome, welcome. We're looking forward to your service today. Quick reminder, please, mobile phones off. That would be wonderful. Thank you. So, without further ado, over to you.
If you just join me for a few moments, and we open in prayer. Divine and gracious Spirit, who we call God, we come together this morning to allow our loved ones to come near us, to give us evidence of their survival and evidence of their love and tender care. We ask this morning to be inspired by our guides and loved ones, to help us understand our lives and our paths forward. We ask for a healing energy to be blessed on us this morning, and to open us up to those higher ideals of spirit as they come with their love to inspire us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Stephen. And now, if you'd care to, please join me saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not when in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. And we now bring our hearts, our minds, our very intent to the art of healing. Healing, as we always remind you, is a personal basis. It is expressing our love. It is as simple as that. Hands up who cannot send out love. Always one. It is as easy as that. Where we show love, we show healing, compassion. So during this time, we invite you to send out that love to wherever you are drawn. Follow your heart's lead for that energy to flow. And also, if there is anybody you know at this particular time, including ourselves, who would benefit from that additional touch, that additional mention, please just raise your hands. And when I point to you, simply call out their name. That is all that is required. The intelligence of the other world knows and understands. So enjoy this time of healing, of reflection, and of meditation. Thank you. Divine and infinite Spirit, God of our own understanding, we thank you for this time of healing and this reminder constant that we are the healers, able to work wherever and whenever the opportunity arises. Amen. Now I'd like to introduce Stephen for his reading philosophy and show and tell today as well. How wonderful.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start off by reading from Emma Hardinge Britton, who is seen as the mother of spiritualism. She was a great speaker, spiritualist, and she was a close advisor to Abraham Lincoln. And she wrote extensively, not just about spiritualism, but about religion and philosophy. She's also very articulate and of an era and a level that I can't quite reach. So I'm doing her little justice, but it's a wonderful explanation. Tradition affirms that when the mind of man rose out of the lethargy of savagism to the dawn of reason and became fired with all those anxious inquisitions into the nature of cause and effect, he began to perceive that all the grand machinery of nature was coincident with the apparition and disappearance of the resplendent lights which spangled the canopy overarching heavens. The God whom his earliest perceptions recognized in the majestic sun was unquestionably the source of those climatic changes which formed the principal theme of his primal studies. To cultivate the ground, feed and protect his flocks, and determine the best times to perform the simple duties of agriculture and herdsmanship, it became necessary to study the succession of the seasons and consider not only the familiar alternations of night and day, but the equally important order which marked the changes in tides and times, together with all the variations of climate and their effects in heat and cold. None could fail to observe that every change on the face of nature kept step with the succession of certain solar and astral phenomena. From the early dawn of these perceptions up to the maturity of the stupendous astronomical religion, man learned to read the fiery scriptures of the skies and the ever-mobile face of nature with a profound depth of understanding. How many ages it required to outwork a complete theology from the book of nature and the starry heavens, man may never determine. Thought grows fast or slowly according to the amount of momentum that is imparted to it. The world is very old in relation to that succession of changes that we call time. And I want to follow that on with what I sort of wanted to follow on from that. In spiritualism, we're very vocal about our ancient heritage, as well as our modern expression, and that we're very scientific and strive to meet spirit communication with science. Our modern expression is still new to the world and finding its place. So we look to other religions and philosophies for inspiration. Like all religions and philosophies, we look to the path of the sun to symbolize the light in our lives. The symbol of the sunflower or the SNU logo is a good example. The sun through the day corresponds to the sun through the seasons and the cycle of birth, life, and apparent death. So we naturally see the seasons correspond with our lives. Spring in the morning represents our youth, summer and noon representing the intensity of adulthood. We make hay while the sun shines. And as we approach our autumnal years, or the evening of our lives, we look at what has passed and find wisdom. And we must all face death in winter, and we see life ebb away only to return in spring. We can say we know we are reborn, not only inasmuch as we know we continue beyond death, but beyond that, we will have new life too. We know this because we see it in everything through the changes of the seasons and the day. Your soul, like time, is both linear and cyclical. The ancient Egyptians had 4 different names for the sun. In the morning and spring, his name was Horus. who rises on the horizon to give us the hours of the day. At noon and in summer he is called Ra, and in the evening in autumn he is called Seti, or sunset. And at night in the depths of winter he is called Osiris, king of the underworld. In the story, Osiris is slain by his jealous brother Seti, who cast Osiris into the night sky. Isis travels the Nile in her crescent boat, the moon, and collects the pieces of Osiris and replaces the missing part with one made of gold. And they have a child together, Horus, and the cycle repeats daily and yearly. And it's in this part of the year where we begin to face the hard winter months to come, where we face death and we have festivals going back thousands of years that Halloween is only a modern interpretation of. Even Remembrance Sunday has a much older tradition which our ancient ancestors observed. These festivals were to honour the dead, but so that we had more appreciation of life. This fleeting opportunity to experience this magical realm can be lost in our daily lives, so these stories are kept and reiterated so we never lose sight of the ever-changing patterns of life, from cradle to grave and beyond. So it's only when you've got a structure like that that you can harmonise with the year. And I think Emma Hardinge Britten, she didn't live long enough to see the SNU formed and to see her dream for a united spiritualism come true. But I think if she had done, she would have then focused on giving us festivals with the equinoxes, the solstices, to have a spiritualist view on them. In all religions, they have, all these equinoxes and festivals at the solstices and the cross-quarter days. It's all marking the path of the sun. And Halloween is a time when we light lanterns to keep that light through the winter months. It's a symbol of carrying that light. And when you think of carrying the light through spiritualism, like we think our religion is actually older than the modern version, that people have used their psychic faculties for thousands of years. And one person who stands out is Plato, who used his inner vision to visualize the geometry that he was working on. And he was working on these shapes, the Platonic solids. And once he drew them on paper and he built the 3D structures of them, he meditated on them and associated them with the elements. And the ancient tradition with the elements is earth represents your physical, water represents emotional, air represents your mental, and fire your spiritual life. And so these are the fourfold nature of man as known by all the ancients, and Emma Hardinge Britten as well. But Plato, he went to the trouble of trying to work out how to associate these solids. And because they're quite hard to describe, I thought I'd make some examples. Blue Peter. So we all know the cube is called the hexahedron, or the cube, and it represented Earth. And if you look at a lot of solid elements, they arrange their molecules in similar structures, like carbon and graphite and things like that. Water, representing the emotions, is the icosahedron. And if you look at the intricate nature of it, you see that in snowflakes and the way water crystallizes. And if you look at fluids, their molecular structure is very similar to these shapes. And you'll see icosahedrons in a lot of bacteria as well as other shapes too. Air he represented with the octahedron. And when you look at gaseous elements, their molecules arrange themselves in similar patterns. And he did all this without a microscope. He did this with his meditation. And fire, well, you couldn't look more like a flame if you tried, really. So he worked these out through meditation, through using his inner vision. And now we have a microscope, we can see these molecules and their structures, and we can see bacteria, and they have very similar shapes. But there was one shape, the dodecahedron, that was not allowed to be uttered outside of his academy on the pain of death. I'm not sure why, because now it looks like a football, but it was a way of understanding the element of ether. So we can't use our instruments to see the etheric realms. The only instrument we've got is our inner vision. But it was through Plato's study and his inner vision that he was able to bring these into our understanding. It was using these psychic faculties that we're all born with, as well as the hard work in the normal world, learning the geometry and the maths, that he was able to use his knowledge and inner vision to give us something that 2,000 years later, that his philosophy still stands. And we're discovering how powerful his inner vision was. But when he was asked about the afterlife, he said that he believed in it, but he didn't see the point in worrying about it because we had work to do. And I think in spiritualism, we're getting so caught up in the mediumship and the message that we're losing sight that it's spiritualism. It's not survivalism. And spirit basically means breath, which is the element of air. It's about the mind and learning. It's about enlightenment, and enlightenment happens in the mind. So spiritualism, it's only 180 odd years old. It still hasn't come full circle, as it were. Most religions usually take about 300 years before they're accepted, so we can't be surprised that spiritualism's still finding its feet. But we end up having to borrow from other religions for our practice. Shamanism for the wheel of the year, things like that. A lot of us hold on to our Christian backgrounds because Christmas, Easter, these are festivals we still take part in. But in spiritualism, we have to take it on ourselves to harmonise ourselves with nature. But when you do, and you use your inner vision, which we're all more than capable of doing, we can learn, just like Plato did, about the intricate nature of life. And when you study geometry, you realise there's a geometry to your life. There's a cycle to it. And the Egyptians were obsessed with it, with the cycle of life. And so they studied their inner world and their inner realm. And so did the Greeks. And we're seeing a reiteration of it now in spiritualism. That we are it's been compelled upon us to use our inner vision to create something new. Because everything begins in the mind. And with Plato, he used his mind and his spirit, and look what he produced. Spiritualism's yet to produce such great things, but we've seen from the last 180 years that the spirit world is trying to push us a little bit to use our faculties, to not be scared of it, because we're surrounded by loved ones. So it's your loved ones that are going to come and communicate with you. They're not going to share you with loads of philosophy, stuff they've learned since they got there. They focus on what's really important, and it's the relationships you have with each other while you're alive here on earth. And so they're showing us the way. So we have to find our own harmony with nature so that we can better understand the message from spirit. But if we all improve our inner faculties, some of us will come up with amazing ideas. So I'll leave you to be inspired to come up with your own. Right, thank you.
Say anything. I love every demonstrator that comes to this wonderful church brings their own view, their own energy, their own outlook. Stephen's really challenges the mind. It really gets you thinking, and that's a wonderful, wonderful gift. And you said something in there which resonated with me, which meant, good, I'm not going crazy, that's what's going on now, so that's fine. I'm a lot happier with myself. Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. We now move on to our piece of music for the day. If you wish to sing along, please do. During this time, Simon will be taking the collection for the further work of this, your church. And could you get some newsletter from the hall, please? Thank you. Quick one from here.
Darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When skies as morning breaks and earth's faint shadows flee. In a life in death, the Lord abide with me.
Beautiful. I had one of those mornings this morning where I was running around and I very quickly did that hymn, not realising how much it was going to tie in and mirror some of Stephen's words there between night and day. So thank you. Thank you so much. So we now move on to that part. It's not good enough for us to say we do not die and leave it at that. We in spiritualism have this beautiful and wonderful act, the demonstration of evidential mediumship, where we can back up, we can give evidence of all that we say, all that we do, all that we are. And this is a wonderful and joyous time, is it not? Yes. Yes. How beautiful, how magical, how miraculous it is to have those memories of those who have gone before us, revived and relayed by the wondrous gifts of our mediums of today. So this inquires and requires you to be part of this too, does it not? Yes. It does, yes, exactly. I shouldn't be running a church. I don't know what I should be running, but it's not a church. Anyway, so if Stephen should come to you, embrace that moment. These are your loved ones. These are your people. These are the ones that love you the most, come to remind you of the beauty and the gift of life. So really embrace that. Time and time again, see, all right, I'm just like, come along, experience. Spiritualism is an experience, and I think we've forgotten that a little bit over the past. You know, you're going to have the opportunity now just to spend that fleeting moment, that time again, with those people you would give your right arm to be in the company of. So Stephen should come to you. It requires a
yes, no, maybe.
We've got guests down who we've never met before, sat there going, what is going on? Welcome, Bill. Stephen, sir, over to you.
Thank you. So I sort of see them in my mind, hear them in my mind, and feel them in my being. But sometimes I get two at the same time. It's hard to work out who's who, but you'll know who I've got and be able to help me with it. I do feel I've got a gentleman drawing close to me, and although I feel very fatherly with him, he might be an older generation. So I'm feeling on mum's side of the family. But I might have a father and a grandfather with me. And as he's building up, he's standing a little bit shorter than I am. He would have been quite dark hair, but it's gone grey. And he's quite it's a slim gentleman, but he feels quite solid and well built. I would have been very capable and practical with my hands, but I feel it was my mind that I work with mostly. And as he's building up, I can see his face, and I feel very drawn to Deb's there. And as I see his face, I can see a resemblance with yourself as well. Would this be Mum's dad? And you share quite a connection with him. He sees a lot of himself in you, physically, but also mentally as well. And like I say, a very studious man, but he's very strong and capable, very practical. But he knew to get the right person to fix things rather than just trying himself. Even though he's quite capable, he respected professionalism. Okay, and he did quite well for himself, not over exaggerating it, but he doesn't feel any regrets. None of this shoulda, woulda, coulda with him. He gave everything a very professional touch, and he was very careful with everything. But he had his funny side as well. But it was a dry humour, and had to be very clever, you know. And he would read a lot, the newspaper, books. But he'd have his favourite chair. But he was also immaculate. You know, everything had to be just right. I feel with this gentleman, the passing he would have known it was coming, and he kind of mentally prepared for it. He wasn't very convinced of the other side of life. He's pleasantly surprised. He had an idea, but he wasn't very focused on it. And I feel the weeks and months close as he was thinking about it, he made a lot of progress in his mind. He probably didn't vocalise it so much, but he went over all the big questions in life, and he feels satisfied that weighing in the balance, his life was a good life. You feel a lot of your journeying, your soul journeying, you've had the same feeling, you know. It's you've had to balance your life out, because it was, I just feel this hecticness and now this peace, you know. He's also very interested in the way you think about health and the mind and the intricate nature of the body. He wished he'd studied that more. Okay. And I feel he remembers people respecting his decision, that he had to, the big decisions were left to him to make. Yeah. Okay. And he loved that. Yeah, he didn't have an inflated opinion of himself. He loved the fact that everyone admired his mind. And he feels that the things left behind that people held on to, he feels unattached to it all. He's really grown, because he loved his little space. He knew where everything was, and now he feels he's more at peace, where he doesn't have to worry about, you know, because I feel his mind never really switched off. Okay. And he's saying you need to let the mind switch off more and more. He feels when he's drawing close to me, he wants to share that he comes with like a feeling at the top of the head there, that you get this feeling, it's right on the skull, and he's saying that's him when he draws very close to you. Okay. Right. I'm not quite sure. I'm just seeing him pulling his socks up. Right. No, I don't know if it's metaphorically. I don't think he's talking about you, but he's it's just the way he was brought up, you know, put your socks up, that kind of upbringing. So that did him the world of good. Set him up for life, he's saying. So he's very grateful to his upbringing. That's what I'm getting from him. I'll leave his love with you, because I feel he hasn't communicated a lot, and he would talk all day. It takes him a while to get going, but once he starts and he's in his flow, he wouldn't stop. So I'm going to have to leave his love with you. Okay, lots of love.
Thank you, Stephen.
I feel a lady drawing close to me, and as I took that sip of water, I was struggling to swallow it. And she makes me feel she would have... She was very cheerful about it, but she had a long drawn-out illness that went on and on and on. As she's drawing close to me, she would have been a slightly larger lady. She's smiling as she says this. She would have had quite light hair. It looks like it's got a curl to it. And when she walked in the room, it lit up. She had a really nice air about her. She would have very sort of rosy, flushed complexion, which looking back she's quite happy with, but at the time she was always a little bit embarrassed and a little bit shy. She wore glasses, and as I'm blending with her, I'm feeling a mum, but I feel more like a sort of friend or sister. I feel I'm being drawn to the back. I don't know if a few of you might know this lady. I don't quite feel the relationship here, but I feel like a mother, auntie, sister kind of. Can anyone at the back recognise this lady? Yeah. I feel her voice would have been quite a nice light voice, very recognisable. You feel very comfortable when you hear her voice. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. And she just, you're always pleased when she comes into the room. She's got one of these natures, but she always felt a bit shy and, do they really want me there? I don't want to disturb anyone, but kind of had to, no, come on. But she appreciates the fact that people made the effort with her, because I feel this, She's a very nice, sociable lady, but there's a bit of anxiety there. Would you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And she's like, oh, how silly. The things that we hold ourselves back with, you know, she just feels ever so silly. But she feels that it was obviously an illness that took its toll on her mentally, or she just, there's a bit of fearfulness with her.
Maybe.
I've got this feeling with the throat. She can't quite swallow, and it would have been quite bad towards the end. I'm not sure, right. As I'm sort of looking at her, she,
Oh, yes.
yeah, okay. She would wear very light pastel colours, very casual, like very thin. She goes, oh, it's those hot flushes. But she's thanking people for pushing her and getting her out and inviting her, making her feel welcome, because it made it easier to get out, because she was a bit of a nervous lady, and it was the community that kind of all took their time to get her up and motivated. Just by inviting her to things, she felt like, oh, do you really want me there? She never felt quite like she should be somewhere. Okay. But her whole nature's so lovely. But she just needed to see herself the way other people saw her, and she never really did. Okay, but now she does. She realises she was surrounded by lovely angels, you know, people who really meant what they said. I think it feels she must have been let down a lot when she was much younger,
Yes.
why she never quite felt accepted. Okay. But she feels very loved and accepted now. She's telling me, drawing me to sort of headaches that she used to have, migraines probably, and that would have been why she was always worried she was going to get a headache, so she didn't like to, you know, that's why she needed pushing out. Would you understand that? Okay. Well, she's showing me she's got this beautiful smile on her face, and she's very comfortable in her spiritual self now. I'll get the feeling she's saying to me, you should do a little bit more of this, a communication yourself, or because I'll get the feeling you've done a lot of work on it, and she's like, why aren't you doing this? Okay. Well, I'll leave that with you anyway. Okay. She's got this beautiful glint in her eye, she says that as well. I'll leave her love with you, because I think once it starts flowing with her, she's got a lot to say, but she's got this wonderful air about her, and I feel she's always very close to you. Okay, lots of love. I feel this gentleman coming close to me now, and I feel a very fatherly figure, very upright, very strong. And he's giving me this sort of sense of family history. He was very proud of his family history. He would have known about all his grandfathers going back a long way. And it feels like he really sort of got into studying his family tree more later in life and be quite vocal about it. I do feel I'm coming to Frederick there.
I can understand everything.
Okay. Very tall, and as I'm seeing him, very similar.
Yes.
And he would have been very smart. He would have been wearing a jacket and a tie, and there would be a little pin or something associated with him and his life. He's very big, strong hands. I feel very strong, powerful gentleman. And I don't want to say he's regimented, but I'm not sure about military. But I feel he would have done some military training, but he's just very upright and straight. And he had to be, because he was quite a successful person, and he had to bounce off some other very intimidating men, so he had to have his presence about him. and he learnt to really hold his power, if you know what I mean. So although I'm not sure if he was a spiritualist as such, he was a very, very open-minded gentleman. What he would say, though, would be very down to earth, but I feel he understood there was so much more to this universe, and he was quite interested to find out after death, not before. But again, a very studious man, and although I don't feel he would have qualified medically, he seemed to understand the human body and the human psyche very well. He a good reader of men, not so much women, but he was a man's man. He understood men and he understood the psychology, and he was very good at again, he was someone people looked up to and took advice from.
Yes.
Okay. But I feel he's saying he can only be a great man because he had a great woman with him, and I feel this very strong bond. There must have been a period where one passed long before the other,
Correct.
and they were without each other, but I feel this reuniting in spirit. And I've got this great sense of pride with you, you know, because he's seeing you challenging ideas and things that he probably wasn't brave enough to do himself, because this world is, you know, we've got evidence now, but he didn't realise it existed.
True.
So he's very proud that you took that extra step. And he's reminded me and reminding you, once you start looking, you see the evidence everywhere. It was weird that he couldn't see it. He didn't realise this existed, and then suddenly you've made him aware of it. Because I feel this very close bond that he's learning about spiritualism as you grow through it. And he's actually taken me to his lapel, and he's got a sunflower on it. So I feel he's got his mitts into this work now. And obviously he's doing this in a second language, because he's yeah. But he was he understood a few languages. He was very articulate.
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't a big fan of the English though.
Yeah, correct.
That's right. I'm South African now. Right. He's obviously quite funny as well. His timing would be good, better than mine. And as I feel him leaving me, he's reminded me about water. You've got a fascination with it, or studying it, and the whole emotional side of water. So he's obviously following your thoughts with you. So I'll leave his love with you. God bless you. Oh, just I've got someone coming close to me, and as this lady comes close, I get all these pins and needles, so I know that when she comes close to you, you get the same thing. This lady she's very ethereal, very spiritual, very, and I would say maybe slightly anxious, but she's very flighty and light in the way that she's drawing in close to me. She's been a very funny lady. But she's also making me feel her attention span was poor. Okay. I feel like a mum, but I also feel like we grew into more like sisters. I don't know where I'm being drawn with her either, because her focus isn't great. I don't know if I'm with this lady here. Can you understand this? I feel like mum, but I feel this sort of kinship with you rather than this hierarchy. Would you understand that? No. Unless, okay. I feel like I'm in this lot round here. Maybe. All right. Would you understand? Difficult to focus.
Yeah.
Like too many conversations doesn't finish one.
Yeah.
Okay. As she comes close, because it's hard to pin her down, and but she was quite beautiful, and she had this. She could afford to be the way she was, because people were always fixing things behind her and tidying up after her, and she could afford to be a little bit flighty. Would you understand that?
Maybe when she was younger, but not
Maybe.
She goes, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree either. She's saying you're very similar to how she
Yes,
was growing
that's
up.
true.
Yeah.
Half
But
a
she-
boyfriend.
She feels, like I say, very flighty but very spiritual.
Yeah, that's
And she followed her intuition and her soul,
true. Yeah.
and her feet hardly touched the ground, it feels.
Yeah.
She didn't want to worry about all those things. Other people did that. She wanted to just have fun and sing and dance and
Yeah, she
and
did.
have and spend as much time out in the sunshine as possible.
Yeah.
But I also feel, as she's saying that, she had to watch her skin because she liked it pale.
Oh
Okay.
no,
No.
definitely not. She'd be like nice bronze skin.
Well, she just feels that she focused on that quite a lot. So she must have been a bit of vanity with her, but she could afford to be. She's saying. But she was never offensive or rude. She just the way she was, and people either liked her or not so much. She didn't realise that, but she didn't care. If people didn't
Yeah.
work her out, it didn't bother her. I feel she didn't really take her health as seriously as she should have done. I'm feeling she didn't eat properly, didn't eat enough, and but you know, she liked to keep her figure basically. She goes, "Oh, I'm not getting fat as well as old."
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
But she was just she was very unique. She's
She was.
saying, and she's happy with it. You know,
Yeah.
she realizes, and she wasn't going to change herself for nobody.
Yeah.
But I do feel she expected other people to change for her. She's learning her lesson with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, the moral of the story is take people how they are and not how you want them to be, because I think that's the mistake she made in life. Okay. But you know, she feels so free, you know, and if anything, she could do with being a bit more grounded even now. But she loves your life and she loves the way things are going for you.
Oh, good.
She's saying you've just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say she must have had terrible trouble in her tummy for some reason, because I'm feeling this pain and this uncomfortable, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm using my own mind. If I felt like that, I'd be grouchy, you know. So she said there was a reason for it, and it was an awful thing. She never really vocalised how it made her feel, because she didn't want to ruin other people's day with her problems.
Yeah.
Okay. But she's saying she was in a lot of pain, and she's not in any pain now.
Good.
You know, it's a real relief. But she doesn't feel any different, she's saying. She feels like she's still here floating around. Okay. Okay. I'll leave her love with you, because I feel again she would not stop once she
Yeah,
starts. So
I'm sure.
God bless you.
Thank you.
I've got a gentleman stepping forward now, and he's quite a large build, large character. I feel with him, he would have shaved all his hair off, but he was a very large, probably a little bit taller than me, a little bit broader. He gives me the feeling of a brother or uncle kind of energy, and he looks like a bit of a gentle giant. He looks like he could be a bruiser, but he's cuddly and he's very soft. I feel very drawn to Bill with this, and I don't quite know if it's a brother or uncle on that. I feel come from quite a large family as well, but him and his brothers were quite tight and quite close. He's telling me that he was the bigger and stronger of the boys, but he was the softer in nature. He wasn't as good with money as the other boys, but between them they looked after each other, and no one went hungry, right? And there's a real good family ethic. He would have known you as a kid for a bit, and he liked the cut of your jib. He goes, but he's saying that you were. They didn't know how you would go, but you turned out well. Okay.
Yeah, I can take that.
Yeah. But he's full of joy and love. He's a Christmas man. He'd be Santa Claus. He's great with the kids, but he would run out of energy and puff real quick. And this went on for a while. And again, not very vocal about his health, but everyone could see it in his face as he slowly got sick and lost his energy and lost his oomph.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of removed himself. And, you know, he feels the family would have helped him out. He just didn't want to put himself on them. Okay. He goes, he would tell a joke, but no one ever really got him. Okay. But he was, he likes the fact he was quite a simple man. He wasn't misunderstood. He was pretty much as face value with him. A really lovely, gentle, caring soul, but built like a brick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very strong, and people used to be like, "Oh, that's all right. He'll sort that," and he'll lift a great big heavy lump of machinery up like that, which would take 2 or 3 other men to do. You know, and he's just a real gentle giant. He'd like to see you travelling a little bit more. He's saying, just to go on he's saying down memory lane. Okay, back to your old haunts and a little bit of nostalgia. He wants to take you on a little trip like that. I don't know if you've got anything planned like that. He goes, just go visit your old stomping grounds and see how much you've grown, boy. Okay.
Thank you.
Because he was a homely guy, never really left home.
Yes.
Knew his town and that, and he goes, you got the big wide world in front of you. He goes, and he loves the fact you're exploring it. I don't quite know how to say it. He goes, so if you are going to bother the dead, you do it well. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of love with him. I feel he's with you quite regularly because he feels very close to you. He said you were one of the, you know, you didn't know which way you're going to go, but you had character, you know, and he liked you.
Thank
He's saying some of us are just miserable. He goes, you didn't come from that part of the family. But yeah, there's a lot of love for you and a lot of respect. God bless you.
you. Thank you so much.
I feel a lady drawing close, and she must have become quite frail, a little bit shaky, and she would have worn glasses, quite a slim, petite lady, and as I'm seeing, she would have had quite greying hair, but she loved keeping it just right, and she always seemed to be pretty impeccable. I feel she's always wearing blue and green, and would have massive plastic costume jewellery to set it off, and she always, as plain as she was, she always came across very well turned out and bright, and I feel with this lady a very strong sense of a good teacher, someone who gave a lot of wisdom. I don't know if that was as a teacher, but she just feels you would have spent a lot of time talking with this lady, and I'm not quite feeling where I'm going. I'm feeling drawn either to the lady with the white jumper and the red tag you got there. Oh yeah, Keith. So I feel this is a mum, and I feel she's been past a good few years now, but she still talked about quite often. Would you understand what she's wearing and the way her hair was? Well, just like a little accessorise, you know. I'm feeling a very forthright woman, but she wasn't stern. But she would talk very directly, and she was a good listener as well. And the conversations with her were, you would get somewhere with her. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just idle chit chat, and she was a very direct lady. But yeah, she understood. She understood people. Okay. With her, I feel this sense of she's learning a lot. Okay, because I feel although she was very helpful, she was very fixed in her views, and didn't accept any other views. There was just the right way, which was her way, and she's having to learn that wasn't quite true. Because she feels, although she's got a lot of love for you, probably she could have done more to let you be free in the world. It was a very rigid viewpoint she had, and it's softened greatly over the years. And I feel that since she's seen other family members passing over and joining her, that she's seen the error of her thinking. Because she feels you've lived a very open-minded life. You've accepted other people as they are, and you don't judge them, whereas she was very blinkered, She's showing, as she got much older and quite frail, that, again, it was difficult for her to be nice, because she was struggling in a lot of pain, and she didn't realise quite how she was deteriorating. But in hindsight, people were very supportive and held their peace very well around her. And yeah, so she was very difficult, but the people around her were very accommodating. And she's looking back now and thinking, I didn't really deserve that, but they gave it anyway. She gives me the feeling that she kind of thought she would always be here, and she didn't really consider not being around, and it was a bit of a shock to her system, but she's kind of glad now that she can see her life with the perspective that she's got. I feel with her, she must have just gone into herself towards the end and was non-communicative, because I just feel she just feels in this her own little bubble that she couldn't get out of. Okay. She just feels very blessed that she's had an opportunity to grow spiritually before you come over. So she can say, I know. Right. But there is a lot of love from her. She's seen the way she was and the way you are, and it's a blessing that you are the way you are. She's saying you won't put your feet up, because if you stop, you'll feel, you keep motivated, and you're busier than she ever was. Would you understand that? Okay. And she likes that because she's with you, watching how it was supposed to be done, she's saying. So it's a life well lived, she's saying, and she's so glad that you didn't have the same outlook as she had. I feel that she's talking about a celebration. I don't know if there's been a recent celebration or your birthday or something. She just wants to acknowledge it. Okay. Well, I feel that there's something around now to do with her passing or birthday or anniversary. Okay, I'll just leave her love with you because it's fading away. Thank you all for coming this morning.
Lovely. Thank you. A few notices for the week. On Monday evening, we have our healing evening. That's held every other week. And it's a time to come within the church and receive healing from the church registered healers. Church registered healers, you know the drill, here for 7:15. Thank you. And anyone requiring healing, if you can be here for 7:15, that would be wonderful. Tuesday evening, we continue on with one of our online courses with Angela Foster, 7 o'clock. So we had a full house last week, thank you. Wednesday evening in church, we have our open development circle. That's at 7 o'clock. Thursday, I have the great honour to take the funeral service for Betty Legg. This is a lady some people may remember. Betty gave many years to the platform, moved down to Swanage from London, continued serving the churches and centres, but she's now reunited with all her family. So it's my honour to take that final service for her, 2 o'clock at the Poole Crematorium. Saturday evening at 7 o'clock online we have our Lyceum service, and then Sunday at 11 o'clock we have Irene Hall back down with us from Reading. So new newsletters are available in the hall, but please also keep checking back from time to time on the website because we do have changes. In the meantime, sir, just one final duty, if you would. Thank you.
Divine and gracious Spirit, we thank you for allowing our loved ones to draw close, to give their proof of survival and their inspiration while we've been sat here this morning. And we ask that that inspiration and that healing continue with us, see us all home safely, to bring us all back together again in the love of Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Stephen, thank you. Absolutely beautiful service. Thank you, everybody. Remember, spiritualism isn't about the dead. Spiritualism is about life and living it. And we have this wonderful opportunity. We had such a glorious day yesterday, and it's going to be repeated today. So, yeah, when you leave here, remember, it's about life. This is the time. This is where we make a difference. This is where we build ourselves. So embrace that and enjoy it as well. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
That's so good. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Coffee?
Yeah.
And a sandwich?
Yeah, we'll do actually. Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense.